Alright, hello and welcome. Today I'm starting a new game. Well, I say a new game, but it's been out for over a year in English now, so it's just new for me who's playing it. I'm only gonna play one stream of it, just the very beginning of it. It's Christmas Tina, a visual novel. Since it is December 20th and getting close to Christmas, I guess, based on the title, I thought this would be a good game to try out. However, looking at the summary, I wonder how much of this actually does have to do with Christmas. So let me just read through the summary to give an idea of what it's about. It is the year 1988. Japan is in the midst of the bubble economy. New buildings are sprouting up everywhere, and the people are ecstatic. The old disappears and the new is born. But there are some people, some places, some things that nobody notices. Or perhaps nobody chooses to notice them. This is a story of people who live for 1 year in such a little corner of the city. Kana is a first-year high school student who's involved in a traffic accident during the summer. She finds herself unable to stay in her hometown any longer. Jing fails his university entrance exams in China. He spends a year or so working at a job he doesn't like. Both of them hear of the incredible opportunities presenting themselves in the bubble economy of Tokyo. Therefore, Kana drops out of high school and goes to Tokyo. Jing quits his job and goes to Japan. The job both of them set their eyes on would have them simply living in an old, run-down train station. Although the job only pays a measly 400 yen per hour, it runs for 24 hours a day, so it really isn't that bad. They wouldn't have to pay rent, heating, or electricity. Kana is a bit awkward around people, and Jing doesn't speak Japanese. The employer only wants one person. Neither wants to give up on this job. So the woman in charge recommends that they simply do it together. So that's what the story is like. Well, reading that, I don't really see where the Christmas comes in, but I'm sure that they'll at least pass through the date in the story. In any case, the reason why I picked this game actually is because it felt familiar for some reason. Like I've seen it before, I guess. So I wanted to try it out. Then let's get started. Start journey. It is very pretty. It's like a movie. The snow layer on top that keeps moving. It's a narration looking back. Since it's I'm guessing based on this that it's fully voiced. Maybe it's just like the first few scenes that are voiced, but in that case I'll just react. Very nice art. Work bow. This background music track is really nice. The vocal. Hi, Bucky. Just in time for the start. Like these panning shots are very movie-like.
混んでるのよ、クリスマスだし。
Ah, it's Christmas! It's not Christmas yet, but it's Christmas!
あ、猫いるよ、猫！え、猫？ほらそこ、黒猫！これは私の物語である。ただし、もし私一人で気づいた物語であるなら、今とは大きく違
I
っ
might not be
た
here
も
long
のに
because
な
I
っ
have
た
no
だろう。
idea when my sister is coming back. That's all good. You can stick around for as long as you like.
私の特技にシューマイ作りや変なブレイクダンスを踊れることもなかっただろう。
I wonder what shumai is.
ここが原宿なんだ。
这一定不是我的错。
It's
ジン、
it's
そっか。
trailer
マイケルじゃな
time.
くてジンってい
Opening
うんだ。
time?
ジン。はいはい。カンナちゃんのいいとこみたい。
Introducing all the characters and stuff.
你会说中文吗？
お姉ちゃん、お会計の人、早く。あ、はいはい、今お持ちしてます。何よ、あなたこそ分かってるの？
你什么都不用管，照说的做就行了。
ごめん、重いよね。もう、放っておいてよ。
像您说的，
I wonder when these quotes would show up in the story.
少し練習してみたのよ。あまりうまく。
They've gotta all be like in the earlier parts, right? They aren't gonna spoil things in the trailer opening scene. Alright, that was, I guess, the prologue. If I hadn't been so ignorant, he wouldn't have died. I had to escape from it, so I went to Japan. Someone died already? Okay, well, chapter 1. Decision. So is this a visual novel? Yeah, it's a visual novel. Okay, I'll read through the narration, but I think all of the dialogue is voiced. It was the last day of August. I was in my first year of high school, and the summer holiday was drawing to a close. My classmates were all gloomy at the prospect of a new term, and rushed to finish all their homework. Meanwhile, I was in the hospital. I'd already been in the hospital for a month before I realized it. So this is Kanna's side of the story, right?
車椅子ではなく松葉杖らしい。
Yeah. It seemed to have nothing to do with me. Another summer holiday was ending, and I'd had no part of it. I was going to spend the rest of the summer holiday in the hospital as well. It was a far cry from the joy and dark tans that other years had offered me.
いえ、楽しかった夏の思い出は少ない。
To find one, I had to go back 4 whole years to when I'd still been in grade school. After that, my days were full of part-time work. The summer vacations, in particular, offered me the chance to work from dusk till dawn. I wasn't alone in this. Doesn't sound like a very good situation for a student. My mother took on temporary jobs as well, and my father worked overtime, and even on his days off.
別に我が家は貧乏ではないと思う。
We weren't poor, we were just living a simple life. We were trying to save money after all. All of us, together. I started to focus on part-time work during middle school as well. I never went out to have fun after school. I didn't take part in any clubs either. I barely had time. I never gave chocolate to anyone on Valentine's Day. You know, these black bars around are very cinematic.
だけど、それでもよかった。
I never managed to understand why things had to turn out the way they did. 1987.
ただいま。
I wonder if I can advance the text by like pressing enter. Yeah, that works. Oh, nice. Moving pictures.
お姉ちゃん、おかえりなさい。エミ、お母さんは？
Wow, the dialogue is even moving like on the screen
まだ帰ってきて
a
ない。
bit so that it matches where their position is on the picture.
そう。
Okay, maybe
じゃあ
not
すぐに
matching,
晩
but
ご飯の用意するわね。
it's not in the black space.
お腹ペコペコ。私も手伝うよ。
My little sister gleamed at me. Her name is Emmy. We were 8 whole years apart. She was just 7 back then. She was upbeat, direct, innocent, and very caring. She still didn't know it was Dad in the Santa Claus costume. When we gathered seashells at low tide, she cried for the mollusks. Of course, she wasn't always a good girl. When we went to the shrine to get her blessed not long ago, she threw a tantrum because she didn't want to wear my handed-down kimono. On New Year's Eve, my father allowed her a sip of alcohol, and she started singing loudly. Yes, she was a normal 7-year-old girl, innocent and straightforward. And she also had a heart condition, as others might. At 7 years old. Oh, I guess that explains why the whole family is working then. For the cost of that.
あれ、お姉ちゃんご飯食べないの？うん。今日これからバイトあるから。そっか。お姉ちゃんバイト大変だね。
Yeah, working a lot,
うん。
especially as a
これく
student.
らい平気よ。
I was doing it for her. But I couldn't tell her that. I just couldn't. I didn't want to either. She was too young to know. Surgery could treat her condition, but the bills were going to be enormous. And that also explains the line earlier about how they said that they weren't poor, they were just saving. We'd already been working for 3 years. We didn't have to save up money for that much longer.
誰か来たみたい。
So what's gonna change the situation?
迎えに来たよ。
はい、すぐ行きます。
He was a young man living in the neighborhood. I guess he was about 5 years my senior. His name was Sato. Okay, bye Bucky. Have fun with your sister. He'd come to pick me up for work.
最近あのお兄さんよく来るね。うん、新しいバイト紹介してもらってるから。本当はデートだったりして。そんなのじゃないわよ。
This little sister is teasing.
頑張ってね。
I waved at my sister's joke and walked toward the entrance. It was already dark outside. We had gotten into the car. Sato was driving, I was in the passenger seat. Lots of cuts. There was a man I didn't know in the back. That sounds kind of suspicious. Were we headed towards the station? I'd been told we didn't have to go far. We were living in the countryside. Everything important was next to the station. I feel like this is suspicious. Sato had told me the wage was good, but I didn't actually know what I'd have to do yet. Maybe I was going to work at one of those new karaoke places? They were really taking off. You could sing in a private room and all. Apparently the wages were very good. I was still wearing my tracksuit. Perhaps I should have worn something else?
かなちゃん、夕食まだだよね。
はい。
I don't think we can trust Sato.
じゃあ何か食べる？お腹減ってるでしょ。
And who's the person in the back?
いえ、大丈夫で
They've
す。
got like a suit tie and a fancy, well, I'm guessing it's a fancy watch. I didn't have much money with me. Besides, work was only supposed to last until 10 p.m. I'd be able to go 3 hours without food. And in any case, less time spent at work meant less money.
かんなちゃん、遠慮しなくていいよ。パパ、お金持ちだから。
He glanced over at the back seat. Whatever he called him, the man wasn't his father. Perhaps he was going to be my boss at work? He looked older than my own father. His watch glimmered on his wrist.
じゃあ、後で揉めるのも嫌だから、先に説明しておこうか。
Alright, let's hear what this business is.
はい。何でしょうか。
バイトは週に1回3時間。月に7万円。これで問題ない？
70,000 yen per month? Once a week, 3 hours each? 4 weeks for 3 hours? That's 12 hours total. That's a lot.
そんなに？
Yeah, that's so much. It was way more than I'd been hoping for. I tried converting it to an hourly wage, but the numbers were all wrong, and I couldn't do it immediately. I just felt that myself.
正確には10万なんだけどね。紹介料と足代として俺も毎月3万もらう形になってるから。
This sounds sketchy. He reached into his pocket and handed me 7 bills. My hands were trembling. I'd never held so many 10,000 yen bills before.
それと食事代やホテル代もパパ持ちだから。
Yeah, this definitely sounds sketchy.
ホテル代？
そうそう。欲しいものがあれば直接パパにおねだりして。俺は足がかりだし。
Sato! Sato laughed amicably. I looked over my shoulder at the back seat, and the man there smiled as well. It was then that I finally understood. This was compensated dating. Later on, we would start calling it that. At the time, it was just a line of work, whispered of as being very profitable. A very structured kind of relationship.
お兄さん。
I decided to, albeit timidly, ask. Maybe I was misunderstanding something. Maybe they were mistaking me for someone else.
どうしたの？そんな怖い顔して。
これって、売春ですよね。
うん、そう。ぶっちゃけるとそうだね。
Well, That is honest. But it definitely would have been better to be honest before you brought her in the car. He was so relaxed about it. The misunderstanding I'd been so desperately hoping for did not materialize.
もしかしてカンナちゃん分かってなかったの？だって週1で月5万以上なんて他にないでしょ？
I didn't know what to say. Objectively speaking, that was very true. I knew some girls from my class that were gushing over this kind of thing as well. It hadn't seemed like that had anything to do with me. Like an altogether different world.
やっぱり私やめます。
Yeah, that's right.
今さら？それはないんじゃないかな。
Well, that's because you didn't actually say what it was about.
ごめんなさい。勘違いしてました。
いや、でもさ、時給いいバイト紹介してってカンナちゃんが言ってきたんでしょ？
でもこういうのだって思ってなかったし。
大丈夫だって。俺だってカンナちゃんに変な人紹介しないって。このパパはこう見えて。
Sato kept on talking and talking. He offered to raise compensation. He suggested that it would be a one-time thing and we could talk about it again later. The man in the back didn't seem angry or upset. Worried about me, if anything. The man in the back hasn't said a word, honestly. The only presence he has is like that one drawing with between the seats where you see him. Not even his face. But he also made no attempts to stop the car.
すみません。降りますから。
っておいおい危ないよ走行中なんだから。
いえ、もう結構ですから。
だから危ないって。
It's the car accident from the synopsis. July 13th, Showa 62. I don't know what year that is.
気づけば病院のベッドで寝ていた。
Apparently, Sato had lost control and rammed into a power pole. I was told later he hadn't been going that fast, but my right leg was still seriously injured. It needed 27 stitches. The fracture was complicated. They brought me into the hospital at the beginning of the summer holidays, and I was finally being released.
ちょうどひと夏をここで過ごした。
And that brings us to the very start of the narration, doesn't it? I whispered, and started walking with those awkward crutches. I'd spent so long in a wheelchair that my legs felt weak. If all went well, the doctors said I'd only need the crutches for half a year or so. Everyday life wasn't going to be a problem for me.
でも一生走れないかもしれないと言われた。
That's pretty serious. But I guess this is also... Well, I don't know how quickly medical technology improved, but this is 1980s, late 80s. It was hard to imagine for me. Not that I'd ever been running outside of PE class. And how does this... because her family was saving up for her younger sister's surgery, but I imagine this accident probably cut into those funds. So they said only a few years until the surgery would have been possible, but...
果然。
Oh. Change in perspective time. Jing Xiaoran. I guess. China, 1987. That was all I could say when I learned about the university entrance exam results. Wait, did I miss a line? That was all I could say? I'd failed. Ah. I wasn't surprised. I'd been expecting it on some level. I'd been top of my class when I was younger, but that was just how things had shaken out at the time. I'd been convinced I would enter a good university and become a respectable adult. So he fell into the trap of doing well in school when he was young and then not studying, I guess, as he grew older. But that's still quite the drop to fail. Like, there's getting worse grades, but like failing is to go from the top student to failing is a pretty big jump.
从前，这真是我的梦想。
There's the Chinese. Oh wait, this is narration. But I'd stopped believing in it even before I failed in the pursuit. I don't know when it happened. I didn't realize it at the time. And now, 2 years later, my life was different. I wasn't reading reference books anymore. I didn't take mock exams.
哎，景轩然，你磨磨唧唧干什么呢？
对不起，来了。
Busy at work over here as well.
赶紧给我收拾去，顾客还等着呢。
是。
What's that on the TV? China Michael? Michael on tour? I rushed around in the tiny kitchen. We were approaching noon, the busiest time of the day.
哎，还有你，也别闲着。
This time, Liu was giving someone else an earful. He was my senior at work. I didn't get along with him.
最近这些年轻人啊，一个个都这么不顶用。
These people are so rude. Maybe you should give better directions, I thought. Nobody said it, but everyone agreed. Lunchtime was predictable. All he had to do was calculate what we would need and have us prepare for it with enough people and enough supplies. Oh, welcome back. We're now in the male protagonist side of the story. Let me guess, the kid's dead? Nope. Kana just got into a car accident, hurt her leg, and was in the hospital for a summer. Although the leg injury might be kind of, I guess, permanent in a sense, but like it healed well enough to be able to walk. And then this is Jing, who is working, who failed his university exams and is now working in a restaurant by the looks of it. But everyone who works there kind of sucks. Or at least his boss and his seniors.
景轩然，你嘀咕什么呢？
Oh yeah, and he's in China.
没有，没什么。
I denied my inadvertent whisper. Frankly, I couldn't take my job seriously. So why was I doing it? I was interested in business administration. Restaurants, specifically. That's a pretty specific interest. It sounds like something that, I mean, that's totally something you can do as a job. If only he didn't fail his university exams, I guess. When I failed the university entrance exams, the government sent me to this restaurant instead. There weren't many ways to refuse. Oh snap. Is that what happens in China? Or is that what happened in China? If you fail your university entrance exams, they just send you to a random place to work? It was ironic, really. It was so close and yet so far. The government could really have tried to find a better place for me. I didn't actually like pushing pots around, and I didn't want to be a cook.
这种工作，辞了算了。
Well, that said, I didn't have the will to quit. Yeah, I wonder if the government gives jobs like that, then I wonder how the normal job search works. I had to do something to live. And before I knew it, a year had passed. I got better at cooking as well, even though I never came to like it. Cooking's a good skill.
人生有热量的话，
And I guess if you want to work in like restaurant management, having a bit of experience on the ground might be useful. Probably in a better environment would be better, but maybe knowing what a bad restaurant environment is like is also useful. Imagine what the government would do if you quit. I have no clue. Mine had probably burned hottest until I was 8. You know, he probably is gonna quit. You know what? Reading the synopsis, he is going to quit, so... maybe they'll mention something. By the time I was 18, there were only embers. And now, only ashes. Dang, that's kind of miserable. Why had it come to this? When had it started? The university entrance exams had probably been the biggest crossroads. If I had worked harder, my life might have turned out differently. And yet, I didn't have much regret. After all, everything had happened before I knew it.
それでは桜井さん、お気をつけて。
August 31st, Showa 62. When is Showa 62? 1987 still?
長い間お世話になりました。
So we're back to Kana's side of the story. Back to the hospital. It was the morning of my release. My mother was speaking to a nurse she had come to recognize. It was August 31st. Apparently, the hospital had been trying to prepare me for release before the beginning of the new term. That's considerate, I guess.
かなちゃんも無理しないようにね。松葉杖慣れるまで大変だから。
うん。
The morning summer sky was beautiful and blue. I walked with my mother in the already stifling heat. It was around 20 minutes on foot to our apartment.
かんな、足痛くない？
Yeah, they release someone with a leg injury who then proceeds to walk 20 minutes on crutches back home. But I guess maybe at that time, you know, walking is how you got to places?
大丈夫。
急がなくていいから無理しないようにね。
My mother spoke to me reassuringly on the way. I had difficulty walking with the crutches. I would have to use them for another half a year. On the other hand, I would be able to walk again half a year later. As for running and fast sports, that was going to be difficult. There wasn't anything in particular that I wanted to do. More important to me was the added difficulty in finding a job. Dang. This game is about job hunting. A question formed in my mind. People seemed to be watching me with curious eyes. I didn't know them. They were just random people on the street to me. I could see old ladies talking quietly to each other. The rumors did not seem positive. At first, I thought the sight of crutches might be unusual, or that they were mistaking me for someone else.
ねえ、お母さん。あれって。
気にしないで。
でも、なんか私のことを噂してるような。
それより早く家に帰りましょう。
Random town people gossip.
うん。
My mother started walking a little faster. I struggled to keep up with my awkward crutches. For the first time in weeks, I spent the night at home. The summer holidays had lasted for almost 2 months, and I'd spent all of them in the hospital.
お姉ちゃん、おかえり。もう足は大丈夫なの？
It's our little sister.
エミにも心配かけてごめんね。
Emmy gave me an anxious nod, and I patted her head. She must have been lonely while I was at the hospital. My parents had found time after work to visit me there a lot, so my sister must have spent a lot of time alone at home.
でも、またお姉ちゃんと一緒だね。ええ、当分は晩ご飯も一緒よ。やった！お風呂も一緒に入ろうね。
Emmy grinned at me and hopped around a little with excitement. This family has been going through some tough times. I probably wasn't going to be working for a while with injured legs. I liked the idea of spending more time with her after school, but that couldn't last. Even if it meant having to leave her alone. We had to save more money.
じゃあどうするというの？
I could barely make out my mother's fairly loud voice. She'd been arguing with my father in the living room.
お母さんたち、喧嘩してるの？違うわよ。二人とも仲いいんだから。
So much troubles in this family. I denied it immediately. They did get along well, but they were still fighting over something. I didn't know either, and it scared me. But I had to be a good older sister and reassure her. At last, the sliding door opened and my mother entered.
エミ、ちょっとお父さんと遊んでてくれる？
お父さん！
It's good that Amy is still cheerful. Amy ran off towards the living room. I had practically no idea what this could be about. My mother clearly wanted to tell me something. Something that she didn't want my sister Emmy to know.
お母さん、もしかしてエミの病気悪くなってるの？
いいえ、むしろ最近は元気すぎるくらいよ。
That's good.
そっか。
Ah,
よかった。
that's good. According to the doctors, my sister had to go into surgery before middle school if it was going to work. So they've got a timeline. The earlier, the better. This was the reason we were all saving up money. She was 7 now. We still had 5 years. We only had 5 years.
今日はエミのことじゃなくあなたのことなのよ。
I wonder if there's any way they could, like, I mean, I know it's not super good to go into debt or anything, but if there's any favors they could ask anyone, since this is kind of a health issue.
私？
この前の事故のことよ。
I looked at my legs. I'd already stopped thinking about it. My ignorance had led to some awkward moments, but regretting it wasn't going to get me anywhere. The crutches were unavoidable. Even if I wouldn't be able to run anymore, my everyday life was unaffected. But that wasn't what my mother wanted to talk about at all.
あの時車を運転してた佐藤さん亡くなったの。
Oh, snap. Sato died. Even though they said the car was going relatively slowly. What about the third guy in the car? I guess if it was a head-on collision, then being sat in the back seat means that probably less damage? But, huh. Rip
もう一
indeed.
人後ろに乗っていた人も
Wait,
亡くなったらしい
there was another man in the back. He died as well. Okay. That's... They said it was going pretty slowly. Maybe, I guess the positioning it was just bad. Maybe when they crashed into the pole, it was on the driver's side. And the guy in the back was sitting behind the driver. So then the passenger side was safe? Apart from her legs. Cars were dangerous back in the 80s, huh? Dead. Everyone else who'd been in the car was dead.
嘘。本当に？
It's kind of surprising. Well, maybe it shouldn't be surprising that no one told her that, even though she was the only survivor.
本当よ。お父さんとお母さん佐藤さんの葬儀にも行ったわ。
But I feel like wouldn't there be some kind of questioning about like how did this accident happen, and if no one was left alive after the accident, then they would tell her, right? My mother's quiet voice seemed to drift towards me from far away. It seemed very unreal. Only a month and a bit had passed. I still remembered some of it. I guess that's what the gossip was about then. Like, those people in the town when they were heading home. I'd been trying to open the door on the highway and was almost thrown from the car. My injuries would have been a lot worse if I had hit the pavement. I might have died. Sato had pulled me back into the car. And with me back inside the car, I couldn't remember. I'd told the police everything I remembered, of course. They hadn't given me any trouble. Okay, so then the police did ask about it to figure out the reason for the accident. They just never mentioned the fact that the other two people in the car were dead. I feel like that's a bit of an oversight. Maybe they survived and then they died? And they just never... Okay, I'd always assumed that only I was injured in the crash. Well... I guess not.
言っておくけど別にあなたのせいじゃないわ。警察の人もそう言ってたわ。
でも、あの時、私が。
あなたが気に病むことはないの。あれは事故よ。
I didn't know what to say. At least, I didn't know what to say in that situation. Was it really accurate to describe it as an accident?
本当はあなたに教えたくなかったけど、ごめんね。
I guess her mother probably felt that it was necessary to say it since there are people in the town gossiping about it.
うん。
It's also important information, I think.
だけど、いつまでも隠し通せることじゃないからね。
Yeah. People were going to talk about it in our little town. Now I understood why people had been staring at me on the way home from the hospital.
カンナ、自分を責めるなとも、すぐに忘れろとも言わないわ。あれは少し運が悪かっただけ。
運が？
ええ、そう思うようにしなさい。
Unlucky people, I guess. Monologue. Is that a new section? That night, I was looking at the night sky from my window. There's so much film grain in this novel. Yeah, I'm wondering if at some point, like, if this is all just like a flashback and maybe we'll move on to non-film grain. Because this is still chapter 1, I think, because there was that chapter selection screen. I wasn't brooding or anything, just watching the night sky. There were so many things to think about that I was thinking about none of them. I'd never been all that close to Sato. He'd lived nearby, and I'd met him now and then growing up. He'd bought me and my sister ice cream sometimes.
多分
A neighborhood friend, I guess.
私は悪くない。
But now he's dead. I thought. I decided to believe that. Although we'd never been close, I was still shocked 2 people had died.
きっと私には隠していたのだろう。
I wonder what all of this fashion book is. Nobody in the hospital had told me about what had happened. Probably there wasn't a single person in our little town who didn't know about it. To me, at the time, it did not feel real. I felt like I was watching a scene in a movie or television show. Words did not suffice for this facet of human experience. A month passed. It was the beginning of October. I was feeling blue at the prospect of the approaching midterms. A Sunday. There was no school, so I was heading towards the area in front of the station. I had to walk slowly because of the crutches.
あなた、桜井環奈さんね。
Someone called out to me.
あ、はい。
It was a middle-aged woman who I didn't know. She was glaring at me. I'd been hoping it was a case of mistaken identity. But it wasn't. If she knew my name and harbored such resentment, there had to be a reason. It's gonna be about one of those 2 people who died, isn't it?
私、佐藤と申します。佐藤はじめの母です。
I see.
佐藤さん。
I'd known her son. I'd never met her before, but here she was. What did she want of me? Well, I suppose I knew. Her glare was all I needed to know.
亡くなったことはご存知ですか？
はい。お母さんから聞きました。
そう。まあ、こんな狭い町じゃ隠しておけないものね。
I mean, from what I understand, it wasn't really kept secret. From what I understand, everyone knew about
あな
it.
た、運が良かったわね。
Yes, very lucky, and the other 2 were unlucky.
運が？
だって普通は助手席が死ぬもんでしょ。
Is it?
運転席や後ろの人が死んだのに、あなた死んでないじゃない。
The woman ignored the gazes of the passerby, and her accusations became steadily worse. I endured her searing rant, I didn't know what to say anyway.
その、すみません。
はあ？すみませんってどういう意味？あなた、謝るようなことしてたの？
いえ、そんなつもりじゃ。
だったら、うちの子はどうして死んだのよ？
それは。
There are questions that can't quite be answered.
むしろ、あんたが死んで詫びなさいよ。
And that's definitely not something you should ever say. Her abuse continued for some time. Nothing I said made any difference. I noticed that the ellipses went into the middle. All I did was face her rage.
多分、私は悪くない。
Monologue again. I repeated what I'd said before. I didn't think what Sato had done was deserving of death. If I hadn't been so ignorant, he wouldn't have died.
少し運が悪かっただけ。
My mother had told me to think that way. Sato's mother had told me something else. I didn't know which was true. I think it's better to believe your own mother. Maybe it wasn't appropriate to brush something so important off as a matter of good or bad luck. Either way, it was a problem that I couldn't work part-time. I was worried about Emmy.
ねえ、お姉ちゃん。
I feel like rather than simplifying it to good luck and bad luck, there is something behind it, but since it's something that happened in the past and there's nothing that you can do to change it, and there's no ill intent anywhere, then looking back, if it makes you feel better, it's easier to keep it at the idea of good luck and bad luck.
ああ、エミか。
Amy barged into the room just as I was thinking about her. I'd been too distracted by my worries to notice.
今日はどうするの？確か算数のお勉強だよね。あ、うん、そうだったね。
So good at studying. Most days I was teaching my sister Emmy. We had a different subject every day. My sister wasn't going to school. Normally, she would have been in 2nd grade. The doctors had told us that, given her condition, she didn't have to go. Instead, we were teaching her at home, preparing her for a time when it would be possible to send her to school.
あ、そういえば、あのお兄さん。え？
Teaching her at home, but like, that must have been difficult when everyone in the family was working. Now that we have at least one member home most of the time, I think it's probably fine, but yeah, it must have been lonely for her since she wasn't able to go to school either. Well, the whole family was working.
この頃来なくなったね。そうね。
I gave a vague answer. It's like everyone's asking about Sato at the same time. Emmy wasn't being malicious. She was too young for that.
もしかしたら東京に行ってるのかも。
Tokyo.
東京？うん、なんかテレビで言ってたよ。東京がすごいって。
I'd heard that too. Several classmates had bragged about going there.
きっとお兄さんも東京に行ってるんだよ。そうかもしれないわね。
Tokyo was incredible. A lot of rumors were floating into our little countryside town. The bubble economy, That's what it would later be called. There wasn't a name for it at the time. There was just a feeling that economic conditions were excellent and a lot of money could be made quickly. For me, who had hit a dead end, it was enough of a reason.
桜井さん、本当に退学をされるのですね。
Winter, Showa 62. After a long fall season, we had reached the calendar's final page. Hey, is it almost Christmas yet? In story time? My preparations were done. I was ready to move.
はい、申し訳ありません。
それで、これからどうするのですか？
一応、予定はあります。
So she'll move to Tokyo, make some money, and send it back home. Right? That's the plan? I wasn't going to find work in our town. Convincing my parents hadn't been easy. But we needed more money for Amy. It was going to take too long if I waited until graduation. We had to get her into surgery as quickly as possible so she could go to school. That was only part of it, though. I think I also wanted to get away from our town. That's understandable considering the judgment.
我说景校长，我要跟你讲多少次你才明白啊？
So now we're over at Jing's side of the story.
对不起，我重做。
I was working in the kitchen and getting yelled at. It was business as usual, essentially. It was around this time I heard it from my colleagues. The customers were talking about it too. Japan was doing really well, apparently. It was all rather abstract, but there seemed to be a great economic boom. I heard about people who had gone there and made enough money in just 1 year to buy a house. Dang.
要不然，我也去试试。
I whispered. I was quite sure, yet how sincerely I meant that. I didn't really have a goal, anyway. The fire in my life had not reignited. There's still ashes. I wanted to try my hand at the university entrance exams again. A year abroad couldn't hurt. If that had been the point where I had failed, I wanted to try again. I don't know how university entrance, applications are taken, but a year abroad seems like something that could make you stand out. After all, it hadn't. Buying a house with 1 year's work is the dream. Exactly. Been my fault. I wasn't happy with the way my life was going. Okay, I don't know how much it costs to get to Japan from China, but I don't know, they're relatively close, right? You can go on a boat or something, if we're considering the 1980s. And then work for 1 year, head back, buy a house. Whew. It wasn't supposed to be like that. Oh, we're breaking out of the film grain. I had to escape from it. So I went to Japan. It's the meeting, chapter 2. Hard labor or the illegal kind. If you get caught, they'll send you back for sure. It was the last full year of the Showa era. Huh. So I guess it will be, he will work for 1 year, get enough money, and then buy a house? Maybe. So, our protagonists will finally meet. And full color.
ここが 原宿なんだ。
December, Showa 22. I mean, 22? 62. Wow, so many scenes. The screen is so big. That was the first thing I said when leaving the station. Crowds had gathered in front of the massive buildings. The Christmas season had drawn even more people out, it seemed. I didn't pick Harajuku for any particular reason. I didn't have relatives or acquaintances living there either. It was just the station where I had gotten off.
嘘本当に？マジマジポケベル来たし。
What a popular
なん
area.
だ竹下通りじゃん。早く行こう。
Girls passed by excitedly in front of me. What was a pager? Every single girl my age that I could see was wearing cute clothes.
私のようなジャージ姿は誰もいないね。
Yeah. But you're always wearing a tracksuit. Takeshita Street was probably chock full of even more flashy people. My crutches were totally out of place. The city was overwhelming for me, in part out of shame.
いえ、それよりも私の目的は仕事なんだ。
And hopefully, she's able to find a job easily. I hadn't come to have fun or go sightseeing. I went into the first phone booth I could see. Oh, nice phone pop-up there. I pulled out the job ad magazine I'd bought at Tokyo Station and my unused telephone card. Oh my gosh, a telephone card! It's been a while since I've seen that. I intended to call every single place that sounded promising.
すごい。時給1300円って。
I wonder how much that is in, like, accounting for inflation and stuff. In our backwater town, I'd never seen a job offering more than 600. That's more than double. The first page already offered more than I'd ever been expecting.
だけど、時給だけで選んじゃダメだ。
I guess more than hourly wage and then the number of hours? My ideal job also offered me a roof over my head. A roof over my head? That's definitely good. Am I insane or do you have a reflection? A reflection where? Am I reflecting off of the game screen over there? Is that what you're saying? I'm reflecting off of your screen? Is that what's happening? That wouldn't make sense. Are you transparent? I don't know. What are you seeing? I'd heard Tokyo was expensive too. Even a well-paying job might only pay enough to cover rent and expenses.
ここにしてみよう。
I see. That's a good idea. Get a job that can pay you money and also give you a place to stay. I picked one from the mass of offers. It didn't specify a required age and said that the job was simple. Your skin gets really pale when the screen is white, but when it showed the pink shirt, you turned slightly pink. Oh yeah. I guess you could say the screen is reflecting off of me. But that doesn't mean I'm transparent. I think I set the setting a bit too high, so when the screen reflects off of me, it becomes a bit bright. Nervously, I dialed the number. Come to think of it, my only real experience was working in the bakery nearby the house.
はい、白石工務店人事部でございます。
Oh my, it's an engineering job.
私、求人広告を見て。
ああ、はい、求人への応募ですね。面接の準備はできておられるでしょうか。
Wow, right to the interview.
はい、一応。
I'd prepared my CV before leaving. 4 pages with my picture pinned to it.
それでは本日の面接は11時からとなっておりますので、会場までよろしくお願いします。
Wow, that's really fast. Like, I'm calling for your job offer and then like right away, bam, interviews the same day. How does that work? Are you talking about reflecting the screen off of me or about the interviews? Because I can kind of explain reflecting the screen off of me, but these interview things, I guess they just tell anyone who's interested to show up. But reflecting the screen is just the setting. So I just select which screen is reflecting off of me and bam, it reflects. So right now this screen is reflecting on me.
11時。はい、大丈夫です。
I looked at the clock. It was 10:30. Oh no. Where's the place? I don't think you would know Japanese work customs of the 1980s. Well, I guessed. Then I looked at the map inside the magazine. It seemed to be a 3-minute walk. Oh, that's perfect. But, is she still in crutches? She would still be in crutches, right?
それではお待ちしております。私、求人受付担当の霧島と申します。失礼ですが、
はい。
私、霧島と申します。失礼ですが。
And you are?
失礼ですが。
And I am?
お名前をお聞きしてもよろしいでしょうか。
はい。カンナ。桜井カンナと言います。
では桜井様、お待ちしております。
Not the best first impression, but yeah, very nervous. I hung up and sighed. I wasn't used to telephone calls and struggled to understand what they wanted of me. More than anything, I just wasn't extroverted. I didn't know what their job was even going to be. Would my tracksuit be alright?
それより急がないと。もう15分前だ。
Yeah, that's really short notice. I left the booth in a hurry and started walking to where the interview was supposed to be. What a clear, beautiful sky. And it even changes. About 5 hours later, the winter days were short and the sun was setting. I stood in front of the station, beset with doubt.
まだバイト先が決まらない。
But she made a very good effort, I think. I had landed a lot of interviews, but all the companies had turned me down, though some refused to meet me at all. That's such a cool effect there, just slid across. Maybe it's just not going to work with these clothes. I think so too, honestly. Going to job interviews with a tracksuit when you're already pretty young, I think to make a better impression, at least, you know, your school uniform? That's probably not the best thing to wear to a job interview either. I looked at the tracksuit I was wearing. At some companies, I'd seen only people in suits going to the interviews. Yeah, well, it's only the first day, so for the second day, I think it would be better to dress a bit more nicely. Then again, my tracksuit had seemed acceptable in other places. Well, I would say overdress rather than underdress if you're going to an interview. But those jobs had all required some customer contact. It wasn't likely they would hire someone for that who was as awkward and distant as I was. I'd been hoping I would be hired anyway, since they needed people so badly. But it wasn't going as well as I thought. I'm sure part of the reason is because there are so many people who are looking for a job because of the whole bubble economy thing. so they have a lot of applicants. Nobody had hired me, and I was starting to feel nervous. Having to stay at a hotel would be a needless waste of money. The last company I tried was a real estate company near the station. They'd been advertising another simple job.
ここはできるだけ頑張ってみよう。
I whispered and hid the crutches near the entrance. She's hiding the crutches? I feel like that's not the best choice. Although I understand why she thinks that going to a job interview with crutches is probably not going to give her an edge over anyone. I'd learned to do this after the first few disappointments. Yeah. Oof. It's a character. This is probably the place then. This is probably the place then, right?
かわいいお嬢さんね。何かご用かしら。これを見てなんですが。ああ、バイト募集のね。まだやってるわよ。
I offered her my CV, but...
ああ、別にいらないわ。うちは細かいこと気にしないから。
Oh, wow. She opened some kind of ledger and began to explain things to me. Hired on the spot? None of the companies I'd gone to until then had been so welcoming.
これが帳簿。で、こっちがパソコンよ。
Our main accounts right away.
パソコン
PC?
おう、まだパソコンは使ったことない？
I mean, if it's the 1980s, that still makes sense, I think.
あ、はい。
I'd never even seen one in person before. Just on TV sometimes.
ま、パソコンは別にいいわよ。簿記はどれくらいやったことあるの？
None at all.
全然。あら、全くの未経験ってこと？それはちょっと悩んじゃうわね。
A bit of a problem.
今から覚えるからダメでしょうか？私、仕事を探しているんです。
In the past, this had been the point where everything had collapsed. I hung my head. The woman seemed to ponder something.
やっぱダメね。
Ah.
そうですか。でも、他の仕事でよければ紹介してあげるわよ。
That's kind.
お願
Well,
いします。
she has a sprite, so she must be an important character.
じゃあ、とりあえずあなた、何歳？
An important question.
16歳です。
Does that limit the options?
若いわね。その感じだと営業とかも無理そうね。ねえ、あなた可愛いし、コンパニオンのバイトなんてどう？コンパニオン？ぶっちゃけ水商売みたいなものよ。ホステスさんよ。そういうのはちょっと。じゃあディスコは？客寄せに踊ってるだけのバイトもあるわよ。
Disco job? There were those kinds of jobs?
いえ。
Just dance in a disco to draw customers in? What even was a disco? I'd only ever danced at folk festivals and gatherings. And anyway, I was shy and awkward. I wasn't going to do a job like that well.
それじゃあどこも無理じゃないかな。そうですか。ってそうそう、あそこだったらあなたでも大丈夫よ。
She knows a lot of places. She pulled out a different ledger. Then she began to explain. Apparently, a building nearby was scheduled for demolition. I was just supposed to live there for a year. I'd be getting 400 yen per hour, which was low. But since I'd essentially be working 24/7, the daily wage was actually pretty good. Wait, what's the actual job? Just living there? Getting paid to live somewhere? Isn't that the opposite?
住むだけで
Yeah,
本当
exactly.
にお金もらえるんですか？まあね。
There's gotta be some tasks,
もし
right?
かして何か危ない仕事なんじゃ。大丈夫よ。そういうのもあるけど、ここは安心して。
I still didn't understand the necessity, but I knew I'd have a place to sleep. I'd also get paid, which is what I wanted most. I'd spent the entire day looking for a job, and really hadn't been as easy as I expected. And this job also seemed doable.
その、や
You
り
know,
た
I
いで
would
す。
want to do that job too. Getting paid just to live in a place for 1 year?
いいわよ。あなたは真面目そうだし、お願いするわ。はい、ありがとうございます。お名前は桜井環奈。桜井さん？環奈ちゃん？
Either one. Okay,
桜井で
Sakurai.
いいです。それじゃあ桜井さん、よろしく頼むわね。
Just like that. Whoa. Actually, wasn't she gonna connect me with someone? Like she was listing jobs like I know this place, I know that place, but she's the one who hired me, not like whoever owned that place. She took my CV, put some kind of stamp on it, and filed it away. I'd been hired. I was relieved. If she'd sent me out as well, I'd have been in trouble. Getting paid to live in some place sounds like it's gonna end like the last game. What's the last game? Is that something that is like death or something?
まあ私としても
Ah,
このバ
death
イトは
mark.
変な人に任せたくなかったし。
Although in Deathmark, we weren't getting paid to live in that place. We were just living in that place. And then, you know, it turned out that that was actually like my house kind of thing.
ちなみにあなた、猫は大丈夫？好き？
Wait, is this cat sitting? Is that the job? Live in the house to take care of a cat with an hourly wage of 400 yen per hour 24/7?
猫？あ、はい。好きですけど。それじゃ決まりね。早速お願いするわ。
And the question answered and no further
这就是
explanation.
东京啊。
And we're back to Jing's side of the story. After spending 3 days on a shaking container ship, I was finally in Japan. So many people. The streets were as lively as I'd been led to believe. I could see a cluster of tall buildings nearby. That must have been Shinjuku. I'd done the bare minimum of research beforehand, but the real Tokyo was even more overflowing with energy.
和我居住的小地方比起来，的确不一样。
Other young people wearing strange clothes passed me by.
ねえねえ、そこの彼女たち、今暇？
People try to pick people up.
よかったらちょっとお茶し
Wait,
ない？
it's actually working?
どうしよう、ポケベル来たし。
Okay, not working. People were having such animated conversations all around me. I couldn't understand them, but they seemed affectionate.
这就是把马子吧？
Yeah, hitting on girls. In my studies, I'd learned that hitting on girls was apparently acceptable in Japan. Is it? Seeing it in person was still something else.
在中国可没有这种事。
Men and women meeting in public for the first time. would never be as casual as what I had just seen.
还是正事要紧，赶紧电话吧。
I was supposed to contact someone as soon as possible. He was going to give me a job. Others who had gone to Japan before me had arranged it. These kinds of connections were necessary, since we didn't speak the language. I guess that makes sense, yeah. If you're going to a country where you can't understand what anyone is speaking, you would have to get by only by, like, the people who previously went there. So he has a
这
goal.
就是电话亭吗？
Yeah, phone booths should be similar between countries. Or not, maybe. A phone encased. I'd never seen a phone encased in glass and standing outside before. So China didn't have phone booths in the late 1980s? Or maybe it's just not in his town. Because I gather he came from a pretty small town. I inserted the card I'd been given and dialed the number they had told me. Not having to use coins seemed convenient.
Moshi, ござまだ。
Japanese?
不好意思啊，能不能说中文？我不会日语。
你是景萧然吗？
按照之前说的，我已经到元素了。
好的。那你想要什么样的工作啊？
I wonder if there's a version of this game with the, I guess like Japanese and Chinese text mixed together based on who's narrating. I feel like that would be pretty cool. Because right now everything's in English, so I think the effect is a bit lessened.
什么样的是指？
想要来钱多的，还是来钱少的？
Of course, the job that makes good money. A simple question. I was glad the discussion was so concise. I was hoping I could find a job and a place to sleep before nightfall.
来钱多的工作，具体是指什么呢？
Well, that is a very good question to ask, actually. Let's not jump to the good money job.
重体力活，或者非法的活，抓到的话会被强制遣返。
Alright, maybe not the good money one.
那还是要来钱少的吧。怎么了？
你这家伙真奇怪。
Is it that weird to not want to do illegal work?
是吗？
年纪轻轻就这么没胆量。
Oof.
不用您操心。
I needed money. If I wanted to take the entrance exams again, I definitely needed some savings. Still, I didn't want to be arrested trying to achieve that. Taking risks like that rarely ended well. Besides, I didn't want to be repatriated either.
那工作就麻烦你了。
不好意思啊，赚钱不多的工作，我没兴趣给你介绍。
I don't have any jobs that aren't illegal, he says.
啊，那我该怎么办？
我看看，给你找别人介绍。对了，是有一个特殊的工作。
I wonder where people are getting these job listings from.
特殊的工作？
虽然没啥兴趣，顺便就给你介绍一下吧。
Doesn't get my heart pumping. Is that what you evaluate a job with?
ここで会ってるんだよね。
Wait, did Jin get hired by that other guy that he was on the phone with, whereas Kana got hired by the random person she went in to talk to? Like they both individually hired someone without consulting each other? Is that what's gonna happen? I'd gone to the area I was supposed to. and saw an unusual building. I'm pretty sure this sign over here says no trespassing. What's it called again? Authorized personnel only? Oh, there was a fence around the property declaring no entry. Well, I guess I just needed to read the text. One section of fencing was open, which I took to be the entrance, but there was no lock. Nobody would go in voluntarily anyway, I thought. I mean, if they followed the rules, they wouldn't. I'm sure there are rule breakers who would enter, though. It's the middle of Tokyo, after all.
廃墟みたいにも思えるんだけど。
I whispered and entered. I'd heard nobody would be here, but I hid the crutches near the entrance just in case. If my employers found out about the crutches, I was afraid I would be fired. It's a nice place.
駅。
It looked like an old railway station. Most of the building was wooden, and much of it deteriorated. I could see the remains of rails in front of the platform. A railway line must have used this station at some point. Just a few meters beyond the fencing of the streets, just beyond the fencing, the streets were bustling. But this was practically a different world.
よくわからないけど、ここに住むだけなんだよね。
The building was aging, but it seemed stable and livable. It honestly looks like a really nice building. Like, the roof looks really nice, for example. And the windows are actually shiny. There's only a few cracks here and there, but it looks really nice. It looked like it was connected to power and gas as well.
これは予想以上に楽かも。
Yeah. What's the trick? Just living there was probably simple enough. The building seemed to have at least a waiting and night duty room inside. I was thinking about the building when he appeared. And this is the meeting between the two protagonists who can't talk to each other because they don't speak the same language.
あれ？
The two people who got hired for the same job by accident. A tall man had arrived. I'd never seen his clothes before. He looked a few years older than I was. Of course, I didn't know him. He didn't seem to know me either. Who was he? The woman earlier had explained to me that nobody was supposed to be here.
すみません。
I called out to
あ
him,
なた、ここの関係者ですか？
but he can't understand a word you're saying.
私、バイトとしてここに住むことになったものです。もし関係者でないなら、ここに入っちゃダメなんですけど。
How is this gonna get resolved? It's just ... The man didn't say anything. Instead, he glared at me.
你是谁？
And she's not gonna understand that.
はい？
我是来这儿打工的。
What language was that? I didn't think it was English. I had no idea what he was saying.
那人说这里不允许别人进来的。
And now they're just talking at each other. The same things.
何言ってるかちょっとわからないんだけど。
你快点出去！
ちょっと。
He was trying to shoo me outside. It wasn't fair. I couldn't even understand him. Perhaps he was a foreigner. Well, perhaps? I was beginning to think he was speaking Chinese. He was probably Chinese himself.
にーは
你好。
Well, they've got greetings. He was Chinese. Unfortunately, ni hao was about the extent of my Chinese.
你会说中文吗？
にーはシェイシェイ
Hello and thank you. The only words that anyone knows.
しょうがないじゃない。お母さん
我不知道你到底什么情况。总之你能快点离开这儿吗？
何言ってるかわからないけど、出て行ってよ。
Yeah, they both telling each other to leave. I had a rough idea of what he was saying, even if I didn't speak Chinese. He was trying to get rid of me. I'm guessing he's doing shooing motions with his hands. I had no idea why he was doing this, but it was my first day at work, and I had to prove I was capable of doing it.
もう、あんたが出て行きなさいよ。
哎，你到底想干什么呀？
はいはい、あなたたち喧嘩しないでよ。
We have an arbitrator.
あれ
It's her, the person who hired Kana.
ごめんね。どうやらダブルブッキングになったみたいで。ダブル？何
Now
そ
that
れ
they're all speaking in Japanese, Jing is kind of like left not understanding a thing. Can she also speak Chinese?
ここのバイト、定員一人なのに二人も採用しちゃったってこと。
Do you remember her name? I do not remember her name. Let's see if she'll tell it again.
なんか社長がこっちの彼
Oh,
直
the
接雇
boss
ってしまった
probably
みたい
hired
な
him
の。
directly. Okay.
それでどうなるんですか？そりゃどっちかクビかな。
Unless they split their wages and get 200 yen an hour, which is 200 yen an hour 24/7.
そんな困ります。
那个，你们俩在说什么呢？
あ、ちょっと待って。彼にも説明するから。
She pulled out a notebook and began to write something in it. Apparently, she couldn't speak Chinese, but could write it passably well. That's interesting. You would think that you could speak it before you could write it. But I guess the writing system between Japanese and Chinese is somewhat similar?
这不太好吧？我现在也很难再找到别的工作了。
Yeah, it would be really difficult to find a job if you can't speak the language for most jobs.
うん、何言ってるかわからないけど、あなたも嫌だってことね。私もここのバイトやめたくないです。困ったわね。
What do you do? She thought about it for a moment. Then she said,
わかった。じゃあ、二人でやりなさい。
as if that solves everything.
そうよ。言っておくけど時給はそのまま。つまり半分になるわよ。
Yeah, splitting it, so 200 an hour.
それはちょっと。
Is that still enough? Well, I don't think that would be enough to buy a house in a year, at least for Jing. The money had been very good, and the work appealingly simple. Still, having to split it gave me second thoughts. The man next to me did not seem thrilled either.
じゃあやめてくれていいわよ。こちらが必要なのは一人なんだから。
But like, if the job is really just to live somewhere, and then you get money, couldn't you look for another job while you're, you know, living in a house? Train station?
没办法。
そう。 二人とも了承してくれてよかったわ。
Alright, and so with that, we started doing this job together. This weird job where all we had to do was live. A very weird job. Pretty sky. The year is 1987. It wasn't called the bubble economy at the time.
まだ彼の胸ポケットにペンが光っていた頃、まだ私が愛想笑いも嘘も下手だった頃。
We've got like another trailer sequence. All of this was going to end alongside the last year of Showa. Oh snap, it's the opening! Looks like a few items that will be important, huh? Ah, I missed her name. Oh well. There's a cat! That was a fairly long prologue. Yeah, it was. There's some real life camera sequences too. Lots of characters. Time lapse. I wonder, like, are they gonna start speaking each other's languages? Probably, right? If they're gonna be living together? At least a few words just for convenience. But like, what are they gonna do all day if their job is just to live? Nice shot here. Song of the City by Vocal Annabelle? Wow. Presented by NEKOZOU. Alright. And so I slept in Tokyo for the first time, vaguely angry with what had seemed like inconsiderate behavior to me. They had no worries in the world, living a blessed life they didn't appreciate. I guess I'll stop there then. Since, I'm only supposed to play up to 20% of the game, and that seems like a pretty nice stopping point. So, I guess if you want to know what happens next, you'll have to buy it. So next week, I'll be streaming at an unusual time, so keep an eye out for that, I guess. It might be on Monday, it might be on Tuesday, but it's definitely not going to be Tuesday at 8 p.m. I'm going to be trying a different kind of stream, I guess, something that I've been wanting to do for a while. So, well, you'll see when you see the waiting room, I guess. I might tweet it out earlier, I don't know. But yeah. It'll be a longer stream and a weird time, so just be aware. Alright. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed. It was a very interesting story that I wanted to play for quite some time, so I'm glad I was able to get it started, and then I will play the rest on my own time throughout, I guess, the Christmas season and enjoy the atmosphere. So, have a nice week and good night!